Welcome to What's Next, everybody, where you are living your passion at any age. My guest tonight is Heidi Heiland. She is the owner and Chief Inspiration Officer of GrowHaus out here in Corcoran. And I'm so delighted to be here. I wish everybody could smell what this greenhouse smells like.
Oh, it's so great to have you here, Di. Thank you for coming. And Corcoran isn't that far. We're just north of Medina Ballroom. And most people know where Medina Ballroom is, right? We've all been to a concert there.
Sure.
Yeah.
So just hang a right and keep on going north.
There you go.
Okay.
So thanks for coming.
Thank you. This has been your passion for many years. In fact, 40 years, if I'm reading your website correctly. So how did you at an early age understand that this was your passion?
You know, when I started my company when I was 17, I don't think I could have picked it. I think it found me. And it was just a matter of trusting my inner voice and a God touch and following a direction. And always doors would open and I would walk through them. Now, sometimes doors close. And then you need to learn also that's maybe not where you should go. So I can't say I had a grand design when I was a young girl, but I do feel very blessed that the people-plant connection is such a strong one that over the years it became apparent to me that this can heal everybody at any age.
Nice, and that's what this whole thing is talking about tonight, is healing. And that's the one thing that you have emphasized over and over again. When you joined me for Care 11, we were thinking earlier 70 years, you would always bring the healing aspect of plants. And so that's the horticulture therapy that you really enjoy. So when we talked about putting this together, what I wanted you to bring was an example of stuff that we can have inside our house and then outside. So you have started with the inside, right?
Yeah.
And so you've got an aloe plant in front of us.
I do. So I think everybody knows the healing benefits of aloe, right? You can crack it off and rub it on your skin for inflammation, right? And skin irritations. But what people might not know is that it's also good for our gut. The aloe juice is good bacteria for your gut. So there's so many practitioners now that are writing books and doing posts about all of the different plants. One of the easiest ways to get your green on and feel good is, I've told you this before, there's a natural occurring bacterium in the soil that when we touch it, releases serotonin.
Oh, nice.
So you really do get the happy button when you garden. And people have asked me, does it work with gloves on? Yes, it works with gloves on. Does it work in clay soil? Yes, it works in any soil. So just the physical act of gardening is what God intended us to do. So that's pretty easy, whether you have an aloe plant or something else.
Even when I have my gloves on and I'm gardening, all that soil is coming right through anyway.
That's
so
right.
All it is protecting my fingertips.
Yes.
Not necessarily the manicure, but definitely the fingertips, right? Okay, so we've talked a little bit about the aloe, right?
The aloe is a fabulous plant. And certainly we know lavender, right? I mean, I'm sorry that your guests tonight can't smell that, but you know, the olfactory sense.
Let's turn this a little bit so that's not blocking it. There
is one of our senses that stimulates memory. So if somebody is having difficulty remembering things, how do you stimulate your memory? You smell things. When I smell a hyacinth plant, I'm transported back to the spring of my youth and the love of my parents. Certain plants trigger that for us. And I think we can pay better attention to that just as a people's.
And when I've smelled tomato plants in the yard, that's memories of my grandmother.
See?
Because she was the tomato grower in the family, right?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
And so the greens have a very distinct odor. The tomato greens, right?
They do. Some people love the smell of petunias. You know, certainly the sight of a hollyhock or a bleeding heart, old-fashioned plants. If you lived here, lilacs hearken to another era and provide calming. So all of those are sort of innate benefits that we get just when we're in nature. And now they're even writing books about earthing. The whole idea of taking your shoes off and being barefoot and being recharged by the earth. There's also forest bathing, the idea of going into the woods and just you know, hugging a tree, if you will, right?
I love it.
And it's more than that. It's a real practice that the Asian communities do. So I don't want to discredit it, but any of us could just simply walk in the woods and be better. Take a walk with your dog. The green exercise is a way to heal. True horticultural therapy, however, is a treatment modality that works in conjunction with other therapies. Takes a trained professional. I have my certificate in that from Colorado State University and the Horticultural Therapy Institute. And it has a population that you're serving. And for aging communities, it's a wonderful opportunity for those folks to get in nature. They can't always at the same way. And then there's a horticultural activity that affects physical, psychological, and psychosocial realms. So it's a real treatment that we're bringing forward, and I do bring that to individuals. But even if you aren't doing it in an organized fashion like that, we're intended to heal just by being with the plants.
So you have other examples of some
I
of the
do.
plants that we need to have
I
on
do.
the inside. You want me to take this here real quick?
Sure, we'll
and-
take that
Yep.
one out of the
I'll
way.
hold this for you while you put
Now this
those
is a
in there.
snake plant. I don't know if we like or don't like that name, but maybe it's
Right.
better than mother-in-law tongue,
Is
right?
that
I mean,
the
I
other?
don't know how we come up with these names.
Yeah,
This
exactly.
is a spathiphyllum or a peace lily.
Uh-huh.
And all those are very familiar to
Yes,
folks,
they
aren't
are.
they?
Yeah.
And here's the benefit of those plants, along with this little spider plant that we just divided. All of them are so easy, Di, and low light, and don't need a lot of water. I think one of the mistakes that we make is we're trying to love them so much, we overwater. I only water my houseplants every other Sunday. I just put it on my calendar and soak them every other Sunday and then let them dry out. So these are so good in just a low light situation of any home.
Yeah.
And they also purify the air.
I see the white ones right around Easter time. Is that a very specific time of year for them, or is that year round?
It can be year round and they do bloom year round, but many times people do associate it with that holiday. You're absolutely right.
Okay.
So, so many houseplants are all the rage now because people are living in apartments,
Right.
and you don't have a huge yard, and so it's just so easy to get plants in your life at any time. I've got another one to smell.
Oh, yeah.
So I've got rosemary right there.
Oh, this is
And,
my favorite.
You know, certainly if you're a good cook, which I'm not, you can use it in your cooking.
Yes,
and so
which
many
I do.
people are cooking more with foods these days. But now it's even recent studies suggest that it helps with Alzheimer's.
Oh, interesting. Interesting.
So the whole aromatherapy idea, whether we're getting tinctures and oils for different fragrances. How about if you do that with a live plant, though? It's very important to get the plants around us, and so rosemary is one that people might not think of for Alzheimer's.
Yeah, this is a little tricky when you're cooking with it, and I've just stripped off all the leaves. You kind of go backwards to
Yes.
enable to get all these little things, and then chop
Yes.
it up really finely. But
Yeah.
I didn't figure that out to begin with. It took me a little while, like, oh, that doesn't look right. Oh, no, that's too much stem. It's like, no, just strip them off,
Yeah.
cut them up.
And at GrowHaus, we sell those strippers inside the store. We also sell those tinctures because if you haven't saved some of these plants through the winter months, that can be tough to access those fragrances.
Mine.
Speaking of those winter months, I don't know if we want to speak of it anymore because it's just about gone
I
out
know,
there,
thankfully,
right?
yeah.
But one of the things that is hard for folks is heading into a long winter. So how can we heal with plants with that idea? And it's suggested that if you plant tulips in the fall, it will help you with your seasonal affective disorder because you know that the tulips are coming up in the spring. It provides hope and possibility, and hope springs eternal if you've done that activity in the fall. So that's another horticultural therapy activity that's done with an aging population to remember the work that you did in one season will benefit you in the spring.
One of the things you talk about on your website is also dexterity, which I thought, because if you were planting and you're clipping and all the rest of that, if you have challenges, obviously there are other things that you can do, but maybe it makes you a little bit more nimble when you're working with the plant because you want to love that plant, right?
Correct, absolutely right. And the idea behind that is, maybe squeezing an exercise ball or some activity like that would provide the same benefits. But how much fun is that? Dealing with the plants.
I can squeeze this a little
that's
better, right? I get
It's much more
the
fun,
aroma,
and you
yeah.
might do more repetitions. You might not think, oh my goodness, is this going to be over yet? I'm tired of this physical therapy. If you overlay the horticultural therapy component, you will stretch yourself longer, is the idea.
Okay, so are we still inside or we're going outside yet?
So these are all of the inside plants
inside.
we've talked about, and
Okay.
just, you know,
Is this an inside
This
plant?
is a, yep. This it can be either. It's a really good transition.
Okay.
This is a lettuce bowl. So certainly eating well as we get older is important for inflammation, right? Many times foods will trigger my arthritis. And so if I eat healthier, just the fact that you're eating fresh greens that you have grown, you know, is beneficial for us.
Turmeric helps.
There you go, that too.
Right.
And so these lettuce bowls, we started inside this hothouse, in this greenhouse, but they also can take a little bit of a frost. And there's some
What
plants.
is the light? What do you have? If this is inside, does it need dominant light?
That's a good question. It does need bright light, but it doesn't produce a fruit, if you will.
Sure.
You can do anything that's in the lettuce families and the kale families in a low light situation.
Okay.
So it's great to transition inside. We also have sprouting jars, so you can do microgreens. And that's really easy to do in any light situation. It only takes about 10 days. So there's ways to eat in the winter months inside with your own fresh greens. So this could go outside now. Now if a hard frost is going to come back and Mother Nature just really screams back in, you might want to pull it inside. But plants that can go outside right now include this lettuce and the little pansies, the Johnny Jump Ups over here, and the alyssum. All of these plants, there's many plants that can take a little bit of a frost. So now's the time to start switching out containers and getting them ready for the season. And we don't have to only put in the pansies. You could put in lettuce foliage, you could put in beet foliage, you could, we have Nemesia and other plants here as well. Along with your pussy willows and sticks and stems and forced bulbs. Things like that can be so pretty to put in your containers.
Oh, nice. Well, you've surrounded us with so many beautiful things. What else do we have that we're
What
talking
else am
about?
I thinking? You know, just the idea of going outside and playing.
Right.
You know, that sort of light attitude about it can be helpful to any population, certainly the aging, but we all need to go outside and play some more. One other plant I think that is really important to consider is the daisy. If you're trying to cope with a sense of loss, the daisy flower signifies new beginnings. And even if you don't know that about a daisy, think of that daisy flower. It's cheery, it's bright, it looks, you know, happy. And so it can help people who are in loss. And they suggest that when all of our senses are engaged at the same time is when we're most fully alive. And when does that happen? In a garden.
Yeah.
So it's the time for gardening season, and it's a really exciting time for us all. So I encourage people just to go outside and play.
Well, they can also go inside and play inside what you have inside. So we have pictures of the interior of your store.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that. What do you have in there right now? What do you, what have your customers told you that they really want? Because you have a wide variety of things, fun things.
We do have a wide variety of things. So even though I've been in business for 40 years, we just bought the GrowHaus 3 years ago. So we're still working on our product mix, but we're having a ton of fun with it. And most of the materials in there are healing in some fashion, whether it's oils and diffusers or smudge sticks or intentional cards. We also always will have a landscape to table area. So that for us means a kitchen. We believe you can eat your yard, and maybe should. So we have tools that make that easy for you to bring the outdoors into your kitchen table. And certainly houseplants are all the rage, especially because people aren't quite going outside in full, so we're loaded up with that. We've got cut flower vases. And ways for people to engage with flowers all the time. We make compost tea here, and so we sell the products that support real, alive compost tea, and that's a whole segment in and of itself. Compost tea and soils.
Yeah.
And it's just, we're trying to be the next generation of garden center, a hub for critical dialogue about how you live lightly on the land.
You've always been at that forefront of doing the green everything.
Yeah.
Even 7 years ago
Yeah.
when we were
Yeah.
together.
So I just feel lucky. I've been doing this a long time, and I've sort of seen, I think, where the industry is going, and water, food, and healings are all very important. We work with the University of Minnesota Bee Squad here on campus, and they manage our 3 colonies, and they harvest the honey for it, and we sell the honey in the store. So we know that that's really important for us. We have a high tunnel on campus. That's a way of growing agricultural crops, food crops in the ground in shoulder seasons. So it's basically a hoop house like this, but you're growing crops in the ground. So we will be supporting our own farm stand here with our high tunnel, and it's cutting edge growing to also educate the customer what's going on out there, because the whole food industry is shifting as well. So we're trying to make it accessible for more.
Did you also say you're going to have a farmer's market here?
The farm stand.
Farm
will be
stand,
yeah, and we'll have our honey, and we've got eggs, and we've got all sorts of another vendor that's coming in and bringing more wares than we are hoping that we can support here.
Excellent. So I have a segment called In Case You Didn't Know. In case you didn't know, help me here as to, is it mid-May when people can start to get into their outdoor gardens?
Yeah, you're right. That's the safe date that people say, May 15th. Old farmers would say May 30th. And it's funny because we see that the plants that we install May 15th into the cold soil don't necessarily grow faster than the plants that you install May 30th in the warm soil. So certain plants really like that warm soil. Tomatoes, peppers, zinnias. So you're not always jump starting it with an early crop, but you can do many early crops. You just want to know which ones to do. But it's right around the corner. Thank goodness that snow is melting.
Yay. So when people come out here, we have an exterior shot of your place as well. So as we put that up there, what is the address so when they come to look for you?
So we're 7555 County Road 116 in Corcoran. And like I said, we're just north of Medina Ballroom. So 55 and 116 is, sort of one intersection. And then if you're coming from the north, it's 116 and 10.
It's a straight shot down County Road 10.
Yeah, it is. Just outside of Maple Grove, really.
Get to the light and you make a left-hand turn and you're there.
We're right there. We are the heart of Corcoran.
Exactly.
Yes.
There you go. Well, thank you, Heidi, for all of your plant wisdom. I really, really appreciate it. Again, if you have any questions about your plants or things you want to put into the soil or healing, the things that we just talked about, just head to growhausmn.com, or you can also call the number on your screen.